Palace has confirmed that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex will not be returning as working members of the royal family. Prince Harry and Meghan stepped down from royal duties last year and moved to the United States. The couple, who are expecting their second child, have been stripped of their patronages and honorary titles, which will be returned to the Queen and distributed elsewhere in the royal family.
Prince Harry and Meghan Markle have criticised an online petition ahead of their trip to Australia next month. More than 35,000 people have signed the form, saying security and logistics for the pair's tour should not be taxpayer funded.
It's wild how fast things can flip when you least expect it. What once looked like a strong connection between Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, and Australia has now taken a sharp turn, and the shift is impossible to ignore. Their latest visit was supposed to feel like a comeback moment, something warm and familiar, but instead it turned into something way more uncomfortable.
Rockstar royals who captivated the nation back in 2018. But as Prince Harry and Meghan prepare to return here to Australia, the reception is looking, well, a little bit more lukewarm.
The price of new tickets for Harry's big Melbourne appearance have been slashed by 50% only a week before they head down under.
Prince Harry reportedly didn't see this reaction coming at all. The energy on the ground felt different, and not in a good way. What should have been a positive return quickly turned into a moment that left people talking for all the wrong reasons.
It was a hug from Harry that brought a woman to tears. India Brown had been waiting patiently since 4 a.m.
Just to see them will be amazing, but if I'm lucky enough to hug Prince Harry, it would just be phenomenal.
And from what's being said, the tension hit even harder because a lot of that cold reaction seemed to be directed toward Meghan Markle. Looking back, it's almost hard to believe how different things used to be. Rewind to 2018 and the whole vibe was completely opposite.
Pregnant Meghan and her husband Prince Harry kicked off their royal duties down under on Tuesday by cuddling a koala at an Australian zoo. The couple officially opened a new science institute in Sydney, mixing with locals during the first day of their packed trip. It's their first engagement since Kensington Palace announced they were expecting a baby in the spring.
Right after their royal wedding, Harry and Meghan arrived in Australia with a level of excitement that felt almost unreal. The crowds were massive, the energy was loud, and people were genuinely thrilled just to catch a glimpse of them. Thousands of fans lined up for hours, hoping for just a quick moment to see the couple in person. That kind of attention doesn't happen by accident. It was a full-on wave of support, the kind that most public figures never experience. Back then, Harry and Meghan were being treated like a perfect mix of royalty and celebrity, and Australia seemed fully locked in on them.
Oh my Lord. So the Daily Mail's reporting she's very upset that they called her royalty Rob because she's not supposed to be called. So I'm sure she was really torn up inside. By the way, they didn't even really call her royalty. They just said like royalty in the kitchen, like Master Chef royalty. The same way, you're Hollywood royalty. I'm journalism royalty, whatever. That
And then came the big announcement that made everything even more emotional. During that same visit, Harry and Meghan shared that they were expecting their first child. That moment hit differently. People felt included, almost like they were part of something personal and special. The reaction was full of excitement, with many seeing it as a sign of trust between the couple and the public. The atmosphere during that time felt electric. Everywhere they went, there were smiles, cheers, and constant attention. It looked like Australia had completely embraced them, almost claiming them as their favorite royal duo. The support didn't feel forced either. It looked natural, like people genuinely connected with them. But fast forward to now, and the difference is impossible to ignore. Somewhere along the way, things shifted, and the connection doesn't feel the same anymore.
An American and British celebrity couple that's heading our way, and some wags have started up this petition saying we don't want you here, but the petition demands that no taxpayer funding or official support is provided for Harry and Meghan's private visit to Australia.
After stepping away from royal duties, the narrative around Harry and Meghan started to change, and with that, public perception seemed to move in a new direction. Now, instead of overwhelming support, there are mixed reactions, quiet moments, and a noticeable drop in that once loud excitement. Some people are questioning what changed, while others are just observing how different everything feels compared to before. It's not as simple as one moment or one decision. It looks like a buildup over time that slowly reshaped how they're being received. And that's what makes this situation so interesting.
Oh, gosh. So then she goes, when she's over there, onto their version of MasterChef, because, she's trying to make herself into a Martha Stewart, literally stealing Martha Stewart's recipes. Maureen and I covered that on our parody we did of With Love, Meghan. It's the same recipe. She clearly stole it from Martha Stewart. But so for this, she gets a guest appearance on MasterChef. Way to be complicit, MasterChef people. And she's reportedly very upset about this description of her when she walked out. And I'll tell you why. Here it is.
The same place that once welcomed them with open arms is now showing a completely different side. Whether it's due to their choices, public narratives, or shifting opinions, one thing is clear. The energy is not what it used to be. Things didn't just flip overnight. The way people see Prince Harry and Meghan Markle has been shifting for a long time. And it didn't happen quietly. A lot of it connects back to everything that came after they stepped away from royal duties. The interviews, the high-profile media appearances, the major streaming deals, and all the constant headlines slowly started building a completely different image around them. For some, it felt like every move they made added another layer to the story. Projects like documentaries and public conversations kept them in the spotlight, but not always in a way that worked in their favor. Instead of bringing everyone closer to them, it created mixed reactions, with some people supporting them while others started questioning their decisions more than ever.
In Kilda Road, we're just opposite the shrine, and this is the crowd that has gathered just in the past sort of half an hour or so. They arrived about 3:35. A lot of them were here.
Know why they're coming?
I think it's probably really nice for them to not have to do all the royal stuff. But yeah, I guess that also means that they're not as sort of relevant, I guess, here.
During all that time, they stayed far from Australia. They were focused on building their new life in California, settling into that Montecito lifestyle and stepping deeper into the celebrity world. That physical distance mattered more than it seemed, because while they were away, public opinion back in Australia didn't stay frozen. It kept evolving, without them even being there to feel it. So when talk started spreading that they were finally returning this year, the reaction didn't hit like it once would have. This wasn't the same version of Harry and Meghan people remembered from 2018. Back then, they showed up as working royals, representing something bigger than themselves, backed by tradition and structure. Now everything about their position had changed. This time, they arrived as independent public figures, and people picked up on that immediately. There was no official royal backing, no formal monarchy-linked schedule, and no major charitable programs tied directly to the crown.
Well, the Sussexes soap opera rolled into town this week, 8 years after Harry and Meghan last came down under in a trip they called the catalyst for leaving the royal family.
I'll be honest and tell you I really don't think about them at all.
Are you aware that Harry and Meghan are in Australia?
I had no idea they were coming to Australia.
Yes, I did read about it.
I wasn't aware that they were coming out to Australia at all. I haven't seen anything on the news.
Honestly, no. I did not really know they came last time as well.
I don't know why they...
That shift didn't go unnoticed, and it made people look at the visit from a completely different angle. Some Australians began raising questions about the purpose behind the trip. From their point of view, it didn't feel like a meaningful return. It felt more like a personal move. That's when the tone started getting sharper. The idea that the visit might be tied to business opportunities or personal benefit began circulating, and it changed how people viewed the whole situation. And what really stands out is that the reaction didn't wait for their arrival. It started building before they even landed. Online conversations picked up fast, and a petition began gaining serious traction, pulling in over 40,000 signatures. The message behind it was clear. People didn't want any taxpayer money connected to this visit. That kind of pushback doesn't happen quietly. It showed there was already frustration building, and it reached a level where it couldn't be ignored.
Meghan Markle's $3,000 a head women's retreat in Sydney has failed to sell out.
I think it's going to come down to the commercial aspect. You said about brand Sussex. There is talk that she's going to be bringing, as ever, her brand to Australia. I think that we will know really whether she's won over those Aussies that maybe didn't have a strong opinion either way before when that gets launched, because it will be in the form of cold hard cash.
Reports say Meghan's team had to step in quickly, making it clear that the trip was completely private and had no government involvement. But even after that clarification, the doubts didn't just disappear. If anything, it pushed more people to start asking deeper questions. The biggest one being simple but loaded. Why now? Why come back under these circumstances? Then came the moment they actually arrived. And that's when the contrast between past and present became impossible to miss. Back in 2018, the streets were packed, the crowds were loud, and the energy felt overwhelming. This time, that same level of excitement just wasn't there. Instead of huge crowds lining the streets, the gatherings looked smaller and more controlled.
Well, look, we obviously can't comment on the details of their marriage, but let's just say that a lot of people have bets running with bottles of beer and bottles of wine about whether or not those two children and Prince Harry might escape back to the UK at some later date and rejoin the monarchy. Because, of course, all of the life of privilege that Harry's been used to and all of his fame is related to the monarchy. And when you start to attack the one institution that brought all the love and affection of an entire nation, you'd have to wonder how that plays on Prince Harry, because Australia embraced his mother when she came here, and Charles when they came. We had our streets full of millions of adoring Australians. And even when Charles came very recently, the streets were full.
The people who showed up seemed more like passers-by or those already nearby, not massive groups going out of their way to be there. The difference wasn't subtle, it was obvious. That's what made everything feel so different. It wasn't just about how many people showed up, it was about the vibe. The excitement that once followed them everywhere had cooled off, replaced by curiosity, doubt, and a noticeable shift in how they were being received. Meghan Markle kept her public smile locked in place the whole time, but people watching closely could tell something felt off. The vibe wasn't matching what it used to be, and that difference stood out more than anything. Back in the day, their presence would light up entire cities, but this time, the energy felt way more controlled and honestly, kind of distant. Instead of that loud excitement from before, the atmosphere came across quiet, cautious, and noticeably less hyped. You could almost feel people holding back, like they weren't fully buying into the moment the way they once did. It wasn't dramatic on the surface, but underneath, the shift was clear.
Why did they go to Australia?
No one has the faintest idea, and worse than that, Mark, most Australians had no idea they were even here. There was a great quote in the Sydney Morning Herald that I wrote down for us. It said, "Australia was good to Harry and Meghan, now they want to use us as an ATM." Now the problem is, Australia is almost $1 trillion in debt, so good luck with that. And the gold rush was in the 1850s. So Harry and Meghan are a little bit late for that one. But genuinely, Mark, no one knew they were here. I had to actually go and Google what they are up to. They were apparently across the road from me in Sydney this morning, and you wouldn't even know it.
And the media over in Australia didn't stay quiet about it either. Some commentators came through with sharp takes, straight up describing the whole thing as a cosplay royal tour. That phrase started spreading fast, and it stuck because it painted a very specific picture. From the outside, it looked like a royal-style visit, but without the official role, the backing, or that genuine excitement from the public. That comparison hit hard. It pushed the idea that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle were trying to recreate those royal moments people used to love, but without actually being in those roles anymore. And once that narrative started moving, it changed how a lot of people viewed everything they were doing during the trip. Out on the streets, the reactions didn't feel unified at all. Instead of one clear wave of excitement, it was more mixed, with some people curious, others unsure, and some just not that interested. That kind of split reaction says a lot, especially when you compare it to the overwhelming support they had before. A lot of locals started asking a simple question: what's the real purpose of this visit? And that question kept popping up everywhere. Some people were even openly wondering why Meghan Markle was there in the first place. That level of confusion isn't something you usually see when there's strong public support behind a visit. The turnout, which many expected to be huge, just didn't match the hype. And people noticed that immediately. For some, it felt like a sign that the Sussex name doesn't carry the same weight in Australia like it used to. That shift in influence became one of the biggest talking points surrounding the whole situation. Things became even more noticeable during Meghan's main headline event, the Best Life Retreat. This was supposed to be one of the key highlights of the trip, something that would bring people together and create a strong moment. The event was planned for around 300 attendees, setting the expectation for a solid turnout. But reports started circulating that it didn't fully sell out. And that detail quickly became part of the bigger conversation. When people heard that attendance may have fallen short, it added to the growing idea that interest just wasn't as strong as expected. Inside the venue, the setup told its own story. The space appeared only partially filled, and that visual alone raised eyebrows. It wasn't empty, but it also wasn't packed the way many thought it would be. And in situations like this, perception matters just as much as reality.
Scoop, so you're saying Harry wants to come home and Meghan wants to stay in America?
That would be my personal opinion on the matter. I don't think she's keen to go back to the UK. I don't think she was even particularly keen to be over here in Australia. I thought we were like a backwater to the Netflix and the Hollywood fiasco. But, you know, they came looking for branding and some attention and they didn't really get it. If the aim was to build publicity, it didn't work.
So that would be a point of tension in the relationship if Harry was pining for a UK return and Meghan says, well, I'm happy in America. And it's understandable, isn't it? Because Meghan's got more going on in her life than Harry does.
Some attendees and observers felt like the event focused heavily on Meghan herself rather than offering something deeper or more engaging. That kind of feedback started spreading, adding another layer to the overall reaction. It made people question whether the event was more about connection or more about presentation. On top of that, there were whispers suggesting the visit might have been a way to introduce or test Meghan's personal brand in the Australian market. That idea didn't come from nowhere. It built off everything people were already thinking. And once that speculation got moving, it became part of how the entire trip was being interpreted. Some people started looking at the whole situation from a business angle. There was a growing belief that Meghan Markle might have been using this trip to test the waters, seeing if the Australian public would support her future projects and personal ventures. That idea didn't come out of nowhere. It built up as people watched how everything was unfolding step by step, and that's where the confusion really kicked in. At first, the visit was presented as something focused on wellness, a speaking engagement meant to inspire and connect. But as more details about her schedule came out, things didn't fully line up with that simple explanation. The plan seemed to shift or at least appear more layered than what people were originally told. Meghan's appearances included visits to hospitals and shelters, which on the surface might seem meaningful. But some observers felt these moments didn't fully connect with the original purpose of the trip. Instead of strengthening her image, it raised more questions. People started wondering if these stops were genuinely part of the mission or something more carefully arranged for visibility. That perception spread quickly.
They just completed this Australia tour. They are pretending to still be royals. They're not royals anymore. They had their Royal Highness titles stripped from them. Obviously, he's born a prince and he remains a prince. His dad is the King of England. She's a nothing glamour wannabe. But here's what's interesting to me. So they go on this sort of faux royal tour to Australia, and they pretend that they're still working royals.
As skepticism grew, some began to believe that those charitable appearances were more about public image than real impact. It created this feeling that everything was being managed very tightly, almost like each moment was designed to send a specific message rather than happen naturally. Because of that, the entire visit started to feel less like a genuine return and more like a promotional run. And the problem with that is simple. People can sense when something feels off. Instead of reconnecting with the public, the trip struggled to build real momentum. The energy just wasn't clicking the way it used to. A lot of Australians didn't seem fully convinced by what they were seeing. That emotional connection from years ago, the one that made crowds show up in huge numbers, just wasn't there anymore. It felt like something had faded And no matter what was planned, it wasn't coming back the same way. Prince Harry, on the other hand, was dealing with his own situation during the trip. He took part in a mental health speaking event where he was positioned as the main speaker. This was supposed to be a strong moment for him, something aligned with the causes he's known to care about. But reports suggested that the event faced challenges almost immediately. Ticket sales didn't hit the expected numbers, which led organizers to make a big move. Prices were reportedly reduced significantly, dropping from around $1,300 to roughly $650 in an effort to bring more people in. Even with those adjustments, the event still struggled to reach full capacity.
But they keep breaking open the same act. She gets in front of this group of women who gathered to celebrate her at $1,700 a pop and decided to tell them how terrible her life was, how difficult her life has been. It's amazing how difficult her life has been. And she's traveling around with the Prince of England and going back to her multi-million-dollar Montecito mansion and, touring on the beaches of Australia with throngs of people following her. But she's had it really rough, she wants you to know. And then Harry...
And that detail didn't go unnoticed. For someone who once drew massive crowds just by showing up, this kind of turnout painted a very different picture. It put Harry in a tough and very public position. He used to be seen as one of the most popular figures connected to the monarchy, someone who could easily capture attention and support. Now things seemed more complicated. From the outside, it looked like he was caught between two different paths. On one side, there's Meghan's vision of independence and building something new. On the other, there's the reality of how the public is responding right now. The contrast is hard to ignore. The same Prince Harry who once had huge crowds waiting for him is now facing quieter receptions and smaller audiences. That shift doesn't just happen without reason, it reflects a bigger change in how people see him. Some observers even pointed out that Harry seems stuck between two worlds. He's no longer fully part of the royal system, but at the same time he hasn't been completely embraced as a celebrity figure either. Rehan. That in-between space can be difficult to navigate, and right now it's showing more than ever. The Australia trip really put everything out in the open, and it didn't play out the way many expected. What was supposed to feel like a strong return ended up showing just how much things have changed for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. The difference between expectations and reality was clear, and at times, it even looked a bit uncomfortable for Harry as the moments unfolded. You could tell this wasn't the same connection they once had with the public. The same country that used to celebrate their relationship, cheer them on, and show massive support now seemed unsure about where they fit in. That shift didn't happen quietly. It showed up in the crowds, the reactions, and the overall energy surrounding the entire visit.
You report is potentially thinking about writing a self-help book. But Rob, we just discussed the other day on this program how he got up there and he talked about how he never wanted to be a working royal because it killed his mother, and went on to talk about how he is stressed out. He was in the fetal position and he's basically unable to function. Like he actually talked to the crowd about how difficult his life has been and how completely overwhelmed he's been. Like, these two, she can't get over some bad press she had. That's the terrible stuff that's happened to her. And he can't get over tragedy that has happened to him, but it was 30 years ago, Rob.
Instead of rebuilding that strong bond, the trip ended up raising even more questions. People started wondering if their influence is still as strong as it used to be, or if things have moved in a completely different direction. And when those kinds of questions start popping up, it usually means something deeper has changed. For Prince Harry especially, this moment felt like a turning point. He's no longer in that same role he once had, and now he's navigating a space that doesn't come with the same automatic support. That's not easy to adjust to, especially when the contrast is this visible. One moment you're drawing huge crowds without trying, and the next, the response feels more reserved and uncertain. At the same time, Meghan Markle continues to be right at the center of the conversation. Some people believe she's driving this new direction, building something independent and different from the royal system. Others think the shift has affected how both of them are being received, especially in places that once showed them strong support. And that brings up a big question that a lot of people are asking right now. Who is really responsible for the way things have changed? Is it Meghan Markle's influence and decisions? Or is it Prince Harry's own choices that led him down this path? Or maybe it's a mix of both, building up over time. There's no simple answer, and that's what makes this situation so interesting to watch. Public opinion isn't one-sided. It's split, evolving, and still forming. And moments like this trip only add more layers to that conversation. One thing is clear, though. Their story has entered a completely new phase. The reactions are different, the expectations are different, and the way people connect with them is not what it used to be. Whether they can turn that around or continue building something new on their own terms is something everyone is watching closely. Now, I want to hear what you think. What's your take on Australia's reaction to Prince Harry and Meghan Markle? Who do you think played the biggest role in this shift? Drop your thoughts in the comments and join the conversation. And if you want more breakdowns like this, make sure you like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Tap into the next video you see on your screen for even more celebrity drama and deeper stories. Catch you in the next one.